Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back. So I got a very exciting video for you guys today. Today we're talking about 5 different stocks that I think has the potential to do a 10x over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. Now by 10x I mean 10 times increase in price. That's what I mean. So the keyword here is potential though. So I'm not necessarily saying that they will do a 10x over the course of the next 10 years. In fact, it's highly unlikely that all of these stocks will do a 10x. So this video is not meant to be a prediction or even a recommendation for you to buy or sell any of these stocks. This is not financial advice, so please do your own research before buying or selling anything. But what I am saying is that, in my opinion, I do think that these companies are staring at absolutely huge TAM opportunities. So TAM stands for Total Addressable Market, in case you forgot. So basically TAM is like the size of the entire market that the company is staring at, and if the management of these companies can truly execute their plans perfectly, I think that whatever the price of the stock is right now, it'll just absolutely skyrocket. But keep in mind though that these companies tend to be a little bit smaller and more on the speculative side. So these aren't your typical companies like Apple, Google, Amazon, or even Tesla. So you know, as much as I believe in Tesla, they're at a market cap of around $460 billion right now. So in order for them to do a 10x, the company would have to be worth $4.6 trillion. And quite frankly, I just don't think that that's a very realistic valuation for them to hit even in, let's say, 10 years. Who knows? It might happen, it might not happen, right? What do I know? But same thing goes for companies like Apple, right? So if they were to do a 10x again, I think that Apple would be worth like $20 trillion, right? Because they're already at $2 trillion. So, is there even that much money in the world? Honestly, come on, that's insane, right? A $20 trillion company. So I don't think that Apple will do a 10x in the next 10 years. So if we're looking for ways to achieve financial independence though, and retire in a short span of time, we're really going to have to spend a lot of time and effort looking for these crazy home run stocks that can 10x in a short span of time, right? So if you just dumped all your money into, let's say, an S&P 500 index fund and you get a rate of return of around 8% per year, well, then it will take about 30 years for it to 10x according to quick math that I did on this compound interest calculator that I'll show you now. Let me just share my 2 cents though on what I think that the next big 10x potential candidates are for the next 5 to 10 years. So without further ado, let's go. So quick reminder before we begin, the Q&A is still going on. So if you want to ask me your questions, it's going to run until November 25th. So if you're watching this video before then, please go to that video and comment down below on that video with your question. Or you can just send me a DM directly through Twitter and Instagram, and my handle is down below in the description as always. Also, don't forget to get your free $10 when you sign up and invest your first $100 with Wealthsimple Trade. Or get a free $50 when you sign up and invest your first $500 with Wealthsimple Invest. So links for those are down in the description as well. Anyways, let's jump into the list of stocks. So number 1 on the list is LMND, ticker symbol LMND. And I've talked about LMND before on this channel, so I'm not going to go into super detail right here again. So go ahead and watch that video that I made before if you haven't seen it already. But just to briefly summarize, LMND is an app that helps you get insurance in as easy as clicking a few buttons on your smartphone. And also you can get a personalized quote for your premium depending on your specific situation. So you don't have to call an agent or argue with people on the phone to get a claim. So LMND seeks to make everything easy, from signing up to making a claim to even canceling your insurance if you decide you no longer need it. So the way that LMND achieves this is through AI. So their algorithm is supposed to detect your risk level so that they can give you the lowest risk premium possible, and also to catch fraud if there is any. So I've seen a video demonstration on how the system works. So if you want to file a claim, it's pretty simple and fluid. So right now they offer home insurance. So let's say that somebody breaks into your house and they take your stuff. And you get your stuff stolen. So you can file a claim right there within the app, and LMND says that it will literally only take you 3 minutes for you to get reimbursed. So basically you talk to this chatbot and it'll ask you to film a video of you describing what happened, and the algorithm is supposed to use that video to determine if you're telling the truth, and if it doesn't flag you, then you can get paid out immediately. So I think that this concept is very interesting, and this company has massive potential. So we all know that the way we do insurance here in Canada and the US is just completely broken and really low tech, right? So I think think that for anyone who's interacted with traditional insurance companies, you already know what I'm talking about, so I'm not going to go into detail on that. So don't you wish that it could be as easy as pressing a few buttons? Well, I think that most people will agree with me that the total addressable market for insurance is absolutely huge. So if you look at big insurance companies in the United States, the big ones are worth like hundreds of billions of dollars. Now I should mention that technically Lemonade isn't even a direct competitor to any of them because Lemonade doesn't actually provide the insurance themselves, right? So instead they offload it to a traditional insurance company. So the practice was called reinsurance, which is kind of like insurance, but for insurance companies. So if anything, they're more like a broker rather than a provider. But once again, they're like a super high-tech broker, and I think that they're doing a much better job than traditional insurance brokers. And right now, they're sitting at a market cap of around $3.5 billion. So if you're asking me, can I see them being a $35 billion company? And I say that the answer is yes. I can definitely see them being a $35 billion company at some point in the future, within the next 5 to 10 years, if they can execute well by rolling out more types of insurance, first of all, and also growing their core business in general, right? So that's Lemonade. Now for stock number 2 on the list, I picked Palantir, ticker symbol PLTR. And this stock has been on a wild run lately, and you guys know I'm a big fan of ARK Invest. So ARK Invest has been buying up shares of Palantir recently, and in a pretty noticeable way too. So although it only makes up about 0.5% of ARK's next generation internet ETF right now, it's most likely that ARK is not done buying this stock and they're just averaging in slowly. So for those of you who don't know what Palantir is, they're a big data and data analytics company. So what they do is they collect, aggregate, and store data in a centralized and secure location, and they develop software to help analyze it. So the possibilities of how Palantir services could be helpful is essentially endless. So they're best known for their work with the United States government in areas such as national defense. So they work with companies like, well, not companies, or organizations like the CIA, and more controversially, the Department of Immigration and Customs, to help them track down illegal immigrants. So I'm not going to get into the politics of the whole issue, but what I will say is that the United States government is entrusting Palantir with projects related to national defense. So this means that Palantir is like really legit, right? So, you know, a lot of the details of what they do with the government is classified, but just the fact that Palantir is getting the nod of approval from the CIA, meaning that their service is actually really good, right? Their stuff is real. So from a technology standpoint, I think that it's safe to say that they have something advanced that is hard to copy, and that's what I like, right? A company that has a really wide moat. And at the same time, Palantir also has businesses with other notable major companies such as Airbus, Chrysler, and BP. So overall, I think that the company has a market cap of around $34 billion right now, which I think could be easily $340 billion for the next 5 to 10 years if you consider just how big the demand for data analytics and big data is, since we are living in the information age after all. So that's Palantir. Alright, moving right along. Next up we have Airbnb, ticker symbol ABN. Okay, so I'm kind of cheating with this one a little bit since they haven't IPO'd yet, but they did just file their IPO papers, and the company is set to IPO sometime before the end of the year. And obviously, this has been a business model that's been devastated by the Roni situation. I mean, you could have not asked for a worse situation for the travel industry to be in, right? So this is a pandemic that has shut everything down and eliminated like 90% of travel demand compared to normal times. And Airbnb's valuation is set to be around $30 billion, which is around the same valuation that they had around 2017, which was estimated to be about $31 billion. So essentially, the pandemic has just undid 3 years of progress for Airbnb. However, I do think that as a result of the pandemic, you are getting an opportunity to buy into Airbnb at rather a low price than you would otherwise be able to. So I think that in the long term, Airbnb will do very well though. So if you just look at Uber and Lyft, for example, right? So if you just look at what Uber and Lyft has done to the taxi industry, well, Airbnb is doing that to the hotel industry. And also, as far as I know, Airbnb doesn't have any major competitors other than like traditional hotels and stuff like that. So if you can imagine Uber and Lyft, if they merged into one, well, that's what Airbnb is to the hotel industry, right? So I think in the future, more and more people would rather opt to stay at Airbnb Airbnbs rather than hotels, because Airbnbs just tend to be more affordable, and also they're more authentic, right? So if you're traveling and somewhere and you're living in like that other person's home, that's a more authentic experience to actually experience the local culture than if you were to just stay at a hotel. It seems like a never-ending nightmare at the moment, I know, but at some point the pandemic has to end, right? So with the lockdowns and the second wave and the travel restrictions, I know that you're tired of quarantine, and a lot of people are tired of quarantine. So I'm sure that you're not alone. And once we get the vaccine, which we just got great news from Pfizer and Moderna about the vaccine, right? So once we get the vaccine and the pandemic ends, I think that travel demand is going to be absolutely huge. So I think that in the long term, like 5 to 10 years from now, I guarantee you we're not going to be in a pandemic anymore. Unless, you know, we get a new pandemic with a new virus. But assuming that that doesn't happen, what I'm trying to say is that we're not going to be in the same pandemic as we are 5 years from now. So long term, can I see Airbnb being a $300 billion company? Well, I definitely think that is possible, but you be the judge. Alright, next up we have HYLN, ticker symbol HYLN. And you know, I talk about HYLN a lot on this channel, and you guys know that it's a stock that I'm personally invested in. They make electrified powertrains that can be retrofitted onto semi-trucks in order to increase the efficiency of the trucks and make them more environmentally friendly. And I know the stock is kind of down in the gutters right now, and a lot of people have lost faith in it, but personally I'm still invested in it, and I still have my 325 shares in it right now. And I haven't sold any of it. Well, why is that the case? Because I think that this company could potentially be a 10x candidate. So if you think about how big the transportation industry is, if you just take a quick drive down the highway, you can see that how many big trucks, semi-trucks, are there every single day. And every grocery store you've ever been to has been resupplied by one of those semi-trucks. So what I have to tell you is that it is a big industry, and it is a big total addressable market. So take this with a grain of salt, since it does come from HYLN themselves, but HYLN claims that the total addressable market for what they're doing is an $800 billion total addressable market opportunity. And I do admit that the company still has a lot to prove, so I understand that, okay? But so far I do think that they're doing a pretty great job. Namely, they have a partnership with American Natural Gas, and you can bet that there'll probably be more partnerships coming down the line. And so far I don't see any indication or any other reason so far as to why they won't be able to execute properly on their projections and meet their own expectations if the management continues to do what they're doing. So I've seen an interview with the CEO, Thomas Healy of HYLN, and basically he mentioned that ever since the IPO, every area of the business is accelerating, and people are actually calling into the company to ask about what their products are and how they work and stuff like that. Whereas before, HYLN had to kind of cold call other customers and potential customers to ask them if they're interested in the product. So it's nice to hear that it does sound like there is a demand for the product, or at least interest in the products. So right now, HYLN has a market cap of just under $4 billion. So to 10x, they have to become a $40 billion company, and I think that they can definitely do it if things go well for them. So I remember it wasn't too long ago that the stock was trading for over $50 per share, so double of where it is now. So a valuation of $8 billion, which is around like $50 per share, that would give you a valuation of around $8 billion. So that was already like 20% of the way there to $40 billion. And yes, of course, you can make the argument, and many have, that you know, at that price point the stock was way overvalued, but all I'm saying is that at some point, just a few months ago, someone was willing to pay, and did pay, $58.66 per share for this company, and nothing has changed fundamentally about HYLN compared to back then. So in fact, we've only gotten good news like the American Natural Gas partnership announcement since then. So just think about that for a second, let's move on. So before I reveal the final stock though, let me just give a quick honorable mention to another asset that I think that might easily do a 10x over the next 5 to 10 years. Now this is not a stock, and this is in fact Bitcoin. And I actually think that Bitcoin has potential to go up more than any of the stocks I mentioned on this list. And the reason why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin is just because of simple math. So the amount of Bitcoin is capped at 21 million, okay? So there's never going to be any more Bitcoin compared to that. So Andre Jick actually made a video where he did a quick calculation on how much Bitcoin would be worth if it just represented 1% of worldwide household wealth. So that's if you add up the entire household wealth of just everyone around the world. Well, that would come out to be about 48 trillion US dollars. So if you divide that by $21 million, you would get somewhere between $190,000 to $380,000 per coin. That's about exactly 10 to 20x valuation compared to what Bitcoin prices are right now. So this whole thesis is based on whether or not Bitcoin can be accepted as proper currency, as a lot of people have argued that, because you can't buy, let's say, a coffee with Bitcoin, then Bitcoin is not a legitimate currency. And in my opinion, that argument is completely flawed, because Bitcoin is just meant to be a store of value that can't be inflated. During this pandemic, we've seen that countries around the world, they've printed cash endlessly, right? So that's just a signature of fiat currency, like paper money, right? You can just print it. Well, you can't print Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin has to be mined. And once you hit 21 million, then there's no more. So Bitcoin is like a digital version of gold. So you can't buy a coffee with gold either. That doesn't mean that gold is not a legitimate currency, right? So anyways, I made a video on Bitcoin a while back, and that video actually didn't do too well. So I think they got less than like 300 views, which even for a small channel like this one, that's pretty terrible. So I assume that most of you here are interested in stocks instead of Bitcoin, and that's totally fine. But I'm just saying that I'm a big believer in Bitcoin. So anyways, that's an honorable mention. Alright, so last stock on this list is Revolve, ticker symbol RVLV. And this is stock that I used to own. Now, I sold out of it when it hit like $21 per share or something like that. But to be honest, I'm actually really tempted to buy back into it. So I sold out of it, not because I don't believe in the company anymore or anything like that. It's just because at the time I wanted to take advantage in some dips and some other stocks that I was more interested in, that it was trending down at the time, which were Tesla and Slack. But long term, I really still do like Revolve. So for those of you who don't know where Revolve is an online clothing company, and what's unique about it is that they're really good at using social media platforms like Instagram and celebrities and influencers to promote their products. So I just think that Revolve is really good at appealing to the younger generation, namely Gen Z and millennials, and they understand the younger generation in ways that traditional retailers are struggling to adapt to. So Revolve claims that it's able to use their algorithms to determine which products are popular so that they can quickly ramp up to meet surging demands in products that are popular and just get rid of products that maybe are not so popular. So this is great because it helps them cut down on costs. So fashion moves incredibly quickly, as I'm sure some of you know, and as a retailer, you really don't want to sit on inventory for too long, because if that thing that you have, it goes out of style, well then the price will just absolutely plummet, right? So you've ever seen those like crazy 90% off sales or something like that? It's probably because the thing that they have that they're marking down by 90%, well, it's gone out of style, so they're just dying to get rid of it. But with Revolve, their algorithm helps them to cut down on the amount of inventory they have sitting around, and really allows them to just be more efficient compared to traditional retailers. So obviously being in the retail segment has been challenging for the year of 2020, right? So given the situation that we're in right now. And in the last quarter, Revolve reported around a 3.6% decline in year-over-year sales. So, if you're a small cap and high growth company like Revolve, you certainly don't want to be putting up declines in net sales. However, given the particular challenges that we're facing in 2020, I say that this is actually quite impressive, given that Revolve sales only went down 3.6%. If you look at traditional retailers, their sales probably, they went down by a lot more than 3.6% year over year, right? Let me just say that. And look at earnings, you can see that Revolve has beat earnings expectations all 4 times in the past 4 quarters, and some of them quite substantial beats as well. And right now the company has a market cap of around $1.3 billion. So to do a 10x, they'd only have to get to a market cap of around $13 billion. And I think that they can definitely get there within the next 5 to 10 years if the management continues to execute and smash earnings expectations the way that they have been doing. So anyways, those are the 5 stocks that I think has the potential to 10x over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, and I'll leave the video here. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing if you like this series. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, links down below in the description as always. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!